The US policy in the South China Sea territorial dispute, where China illegally claims the near entirety of the South China Sea as its sovereign territory based on a dubious historical claim, is predicated on the assumption that China will not militarize its claims. This was an apparent unofficial agreement between the People's Republic of China and the US administration under President Obama. This was an attempt to de-escalate tensions in the region and to incentivize China not to create artificial islands in the South China Sea and then militarize them. This agreement has had mixed results, as China has more aggressively enforced its claims against nations in the region, but has slowed down its artificial island construction. This week, it appears that China has decided to push the boundaries of this agreement and conducted a military exercise in a disputed shoal that is in the Philippines' internationally recognized exclusive economic zone. The agreement with the US was that China could use their Coast Guard in the area without the threat of provoking a military response from the US. This does not imply a conflict with China, but rather an increase in patrols by the US Navy and its allies in the region. Although the People's Liberation Army Navy did send warships to the Escoda Shoal on several occasions this year in a standoff with the Philippines, they did not lead the Chinese actions against the Philippine ships. The Chinese have also resorted to grey zone tactics by using their maritime militia to enforce their illegal claims against Philippine fishermen in the West Philippine Sea and interfere with the Philippine Coast Guard and Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resource ships operating in the West Philippine Sea. The Philippine military and the US, a defense treaty ally of the Philippines, chose not to react to the Chinese use of planned warships at the Escoda Shoal, and China has apparently taken that lack of response to push the boundaries of the broken agreement even further. The Chinese Southern Theater Command staged a military exercise around the Scarborough Shoal, which is only 119 miles, 220 kilometers, from Luzon and 540 miles, or 869 kilometers, from mainland China. The exercise included at least 2 Su-30 Russian-made fighter jets, a Y-8 transport plane, 3 naval warships led by a Type 055 destroyer, and an H-6K strategic bomber, which can be armed with missiles to attack US aircraft carriers and can carry nuclear weapons. The Chinese Southern Theater Command stated that the intent was for the Theater Command to use naval and air forces to continuously strengthen their maritime and airspace patrols in the shoal. It is unclear whether the term maritime refers to the plan or the Chinese Coast Guard, which was also participating in the exercise. The US Military Sealift Command ocean surveillance ship, the USNS Victorious, was present in the suspected Chinese monitoring area. Other than the US ship, the Philippines and US have not commented on the exercises. The Philippines can use its civilian private fishing fleet to maintain a presence in the shoal, but is reliant on its international partners, as it lacks the ability to directly confront China militarily. General Romeo Brawner, the chief of the Philippine Armed Forces, has stated that China has increased its presence in the South China Sea and the disputed shoals. China also employs a tactic of challenging the US during the transition of a new administration to send a message. The Philippines has stated in the past that it does not want to militarize the dispute, but has held consultations with the commander of the US Indo-Pacific Command, Admiral John Aquilino, in March 2024 to discuss where the US can increase cooperation and assist the Philippines. The Chinese exercise serves not only as a warning to the Philippines or the US, but also as a direct challenge to determine the extent to which it can militarize the dispute as a form of intimidation. If the plan's presence at the Escoda Shoal remains unanswered, it will continue to push the boundaries at the Scarborough Shoal. A firm response will be needed, not a conflict, but some response to prevent China from pursuing incremental militarization of the South China Sea dispute.